Well, hello and welcome back. It's time for our final pillar number 7. This is pillar we call spirituality, and I left this pillar for last for a reason. Spirituality is probably the most elusive component of physical health that we have in our society. Our hospitals, our institutions, even though initially were all founded on some type of religious principle, predominantly Christian, but there were others as well. It has now evolved into a situation where the spiritual component of physical healing is virtually non-existent. There might be spiritual components that hospitals that might have chapels or whatever, that you're praying for peace in a situation and so on and so forth, but not spirituality as a tool in the physical well-being of your day-to-day life. I want to first address, how does spirituality play into health? Well, you can find some of this on our website. Study after study after study shows that people who have a spiritual life, and they have some criteria of determining that to be so, were by and large, not as a steadfast rule, were by and large healthier people, happier people, and people that were less depressed, and probably most importantly, less stressed. And then the last one was the most predominant statistic of the study, was that these people were less stressful people. And that's because their peace, the peace that drove them on a day-to-day basis, that drove them through strife and turmoil and challenges, is a peace from a greater power than a human is possibly able to wrestle up. So we see statistically that there is a difference in the physical well-being of people who have a spiritual life. And so my question to you is, do you have a spiritual life? Well, how can you determine that? Some of you, the answer is very easy. If you look at the Kylea Health Quiz, you'll see the questions we ask about spirituality. And for some of you, if you get a quote-unquote A in spirituality, it would be because your spirituality defines your very well existence. And for you, that's an easy answer. And it would still be helpful to watch this, because you might be able to pick something up on how to teach others about spirituality as it relates to their physical health, because it's so very often not mixed together the way that it should be. But for some of you others, if your spirituality does not define who you are, maybe you're an intermittent churchgoer, maybe you were a believer in something and now you no longer are, or maybe you're a believer but there's no day-to-day activity in your life as it relates to spirituality, I want to invite you to listen to some of the things I have to say about the physical benefits of spirituality. I keep delineating that way because that's what this is. We are a health and nutrition company. I'm not a church and I'm not a preacher. So we're talking about the physical components of it. Now, studies have shown, and you don't have to believe a word I'm saying, you can check this out yourself and you'll see it to be so. People who enter states of meditation will have increased focus, they will lower their blood pressure, they will lower their heart rate, they will show increased circulation, they will often even show a decrease in body temperature, which is only to say that the body is being put into a very relaxed state. Because when you enter into a spiritual meditation realm, you are leaving the physical aspects of the world behind. And when you do that, you're relieving the single biggest detriment to your health. We've talked about toxins, we've talked about gluttony, we've talked about smoking and drinking, we've talked about lack of exercise, lack of water, improper elimination, poor sleep habits, and all those things are components. Improving those improve your health. But however, the single most detrimental component to your health is stress and fear and anxiety. And those things kind of all go together and are interwoven. Nothing causes more strife than that. One of the best examples I always tell people is, if you look at Hollywood, those people seem to either die when they're 28 or 98. And the ones that die young often are leading lifestyles that lead to outrageous binges of whatever it might be, alcohol and drugs and so on and so forth, and they make bad decisions and things happen. But for the ones who don't go over the edge, what happens is acting is the type of thing where your career is something that you're passionate about, and not too many of us have that ability or that fortunate circumstance. 90% of the American workforce is engaged in a job that they may like a lot or anywhere from to hate a lot, but it isn't necessarily their passion. Your passion might be baseball or ballet or painting or fishing or whatever it is. Think about something you're totally passionate about. If you made your living off that, or if you were a career off that, my ultimate thing would be if I could be an announcer for football or baseball, and just travel with the Chicago Cubs and sit up in the booth. And I know I'm not saying it's all perfect, but I mean sitting in the booth, announcing the games on a beautiful day and singing, "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" in the 7th inning. My goodness, I'm being paid $500,000 a year to do that. The amount of stress that would be taken away from my life would be a major health situation. So you see, a lot of these actors and actresses, if they're not involved in the heavy partying life and all that whole bad stuff, you'll see them how often. You look at Bob Hope and Jack Benny, and the list just goes on and on. People that lived well into their 90s because they were able to spend their life doing their passion, and so the stress was taken. So much of the stress was taken out of their life. When you enter in a state of meditation, this is the same thing that happens. Now, if you're not doing any of that, we talked about deep breathing, and sunshine is one of the pillars. You can incorporate deep breathing and meditation into your life, and when you do that, and if you're not doing it, the way to start is start with 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes. Now, friend, if you can't find 5 minutes, I'm sorry to be so candid, but you know what? If you can't find 5 minutes to meditate and do some deep breathing and just focus, then you're not making the commitment to make your life a better place to be. So here's what's going to happen. I ask you for 5 minutes. I know darn well that what's going to happen is after a few weeks of that, when you see the benefits, you're going to take it to 10, 15, and 20 yourself. You're going to take a couple breaks during the day yourself to just meditate and do some deep breathing and just focus on the spiritual component of your life. Every time you do that, you're going to reduce blood pressure, reduce your heart rate, increase circulation. You're going to take physical stress off your body. And when you feel how good that feels, more and more you're going to enter into the spiritual realm of your life. Whether you agree with certain Eastern philosophies and theologies, and I'm here to clearly say that that's not. I am a Christian, and I'm proud to say that. I'm a sinner saved by grace, and that's never going to change. But nonetheless, I do not keep a blind eye to the rest of the world. And like Jesus, everybody in this universe is created equal in the eyes of God. And if you look at some Eastern religions, some of the things that they do have as components of their theology is a very intense commitment to meditation and to their spiritual life and their spiritual walk. While I disagree with their theology, their intensity of their spirituality is something that you'll see great health benefits from. And so you see great life expectancies out of a lot of these Eastern people who are devoted to their religion. So I think we can take, if you're a Western Christian or any part of the world Christian, and you say, well, that's not for me, and you want to start finger pointing and saying, that's not to engage in that. Well, maybe to engage in their theology would be against your grain, but to engage in some of the social aspects of what they breed into their theology, if you focus on what is important to your soul and to your spirit and incorporate some of those things, and yoga is a great example of that. Some of my Christian friends think yoga is wrong to do because it has an Eastern philosophy. Well, friend, yoga is a phenomenal thing to do for yourself physically. Phenomenal exercise. And if you are in a yoga class and that happens to be an Eastern philosophy instructor, you block out whatever spiritual aspect they're focusing on. You focus on your own spiritual aspect. If you're a Christian and Jesus Christ is the center of your yoga attention, and Jesus Christ is the center of your yoga attention, you can have the wrong thoughts and things while you're in the middle of your prayer life, even if you are a Christian. So it isn't the exercise that you're doing. It's who is your focus? Who is your creator? Is it the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Is that your theology, that he had a son, Jesus Christ, who lived and died and for your sins, and that's your salvation? That's the basic Christian faith. If that is your faith, you can incorporate that into any application of meditation that will help you relieve stress, focus, and be most of all at peace.